Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Movement, episode 7. Today, with me, I have Aidan from Irish Collegiate Esports. I'm in a new setup in my new gaff in Dublin, and everything's a bit fickle at the moment, but what can you do? What can you do? How are you doing, Aidan? What's the story?
I'm very good, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Right,
New
so
digs, new digs.
yeah, new digs, new house setup. That's just what happens. I'm way too orange, but just lighting setup.
No, these things happen.
Yeah, these things happen. These things happen. Right, let's get into it. Tell me about your early days before you were playing League. What was maybe your favorite game or your first game that you remember playing? Just along those lines. Tell me about early gamer days.
Early gamer days. Right. I guess because I'm old. I'm old. Uh, my first big introduction to gaming that really made me want to play better games was actually Shogun Total War One, in which I had a computer that couldn't run it, and it needed 256 megabytes of RAM, and I didn't have that. So you can guess how old that game must be.
Yeah.
And then as I kind of progressed into gaming, I got into likes of Red Alert and stuff like that. But pre League, when I would consider myself when I really got into games, when I played the MMO Guild Wars One, because that had an amazing PvP system and it completely captivated me. I remember reading about it in a magazine, a gamer magazine, and being like, I want to try this out. And it's all been downhill from there. So yeah, that's where I started Guild Wars, and then kind of as the waning days of Guild Wars One came into play, I tried out League, and League of Legends, and I didn't like it. Actually, it was I played one game where I played Tarek with a Giant's belt, and was like, okay, I don't know what's going on. This is really weird, and I said, no, I'm not going to play it. And then my friends from Guild Wars One were like, we're going to try this game. Do you want to play? And I'm like, I mean, I've already played it. I didn't really like it, but sure, look, if there's nobody going to be on Guild Wars, I might as well.
Yeah.
And then I played it with friends, and I loved it. And that was a big game changer for me. I think I can remember it clearly. It's pretty crazy. And then I've spent my time trying to be a Mordekaiser main, and that didn't work out.
Nice, nice. So you started in season 1, season 0?
Season one, yeah, season one. I started playing League because I've done extensive questioning on this. I started playing League in September 2010. So
Ooh.
it's two months I think after release. And I remember my friend telling me about it and the new champion that came out because she could make bullets fall from the sky, aka MF and her E.
Yeah.
So yeah, so she just came out as I was coming back, or I was really starting to play, and it was just crazy. So that's kind of when I started playing League. So yeah, 10 years now at this stage.
That's pretty wild. When did you start watching comp for League?
Uh, like for League,
Yeah.
I started watching kind of. I guess it was the season one final. That's when I really just kind of said, I'm gonna sit down and gonna play. Because I can't remember if it was before or roughly around the same time or after, but I was really getting into Halo 3 MLG competitive game, the
Hmm.
competitive streams with Final Boss and stuff, and Straight Ripping and these esports teams that I had no idea could even exist. And then I watched League and I watched the League finals, and I was just hooked on the idea of it. You know what I mean? Playing fives, getting better. You know, the idea you could go pro at a game and win extra amount of money. And I think the league prize pool for season one was like $10,000 or something, you know?
Yeah, it
And
was incredibly low compared to.
exact compared to now,
Yeah.
so big changes have happened, you know? So oh, I don't know if you can hear my dog, but yeah.
I
Um
couldn't, but give pets for
okay,
me.
fair. Yeah, I will. Big dog person.
Yeah, I love dogs.
But yeah, so League Season 1 finals, I'd say that's when I started, and then I watched whatever iteration of the LCS or LEC was on at that stage, and
It was more of an
just
open
watched
circuit
it.
format back then, right? I don't think there was actually structured
Yeah,
leagues.
yeah, it was kind of I don't really remember all that well, being perfectly honest. I remember the CLGEU and stuff like that because it was basically just 8 teams that always qualified because they were. I'm assuming it was always kind of longer brackets into a finals, and that's kind of when it happened. I don't really remember it, to be perfectly honest, but like I just remember the early days of the league, and I remember I actually sat down to watch season 2 finals and stuff like that, and I was super late, and um when it was on, because obviously it was in NA in the Stanley Center, and that was like 5 or 8 hours behind or something, so it was late night start, and I just watched the whole thing. I loved it, and that kind of was it for me. I was betting, captured, and living league life at that stage.
Yeah, you got sucked in like it happens to many people. So
Yes.
tell me about the like just the early days of like the Irish scene, so to speak, because I remember when I first joined the Irish scene on Exodus with Johnny, you were actually our sub back in the day. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember that. Were you
I don't remember.
playing? Were you playing
um
in G Series and all that stuff?
so what happened was that so G Series came about like with the kind of the Irish league scene. um and what happened was the very first G Series, I was there, we had a good time, we watched the guys play and stuff like that, and then G Series 2 came around, and it was again a bigger event, and it was really cool. But at that point then I got talking to the organizer of G Series, so like Brian McNamara and stuff like that, Brian McCallig, and we discussed, I mean, where G Series could go, and if I would like to be involved. And I started on the console, so the console days and stuff for G Series. But obviously, being part of the organizational team for the tournament for league, I couldn't well, for the event, I couldn't be on a team, so I kind of weaseled my way into playing G Series 4 with my own team, Aidan Too Heavy, and that was it. Then couldn't play anymore. The events they got bigger and bigger, and more time was needed, and all that kind of thing. So I got my entry competitive play, and then had to bow out and just blame the fact that I couldn't play anymore. Realistically, I was just really really bad.
Happens, man. Happens. We're all pretty bad. I mean,
Yeah.
especially me, man. I'm so washed right now. It's insane.
Well, you've entered in the new college tournament coming up, so can't wait to see you play.
Yeah, true, true, true. I'm trying to think if there's anybody like in top lane that apart from I don't even know if Rangus is playing anymore, so I'm not
I
sure.
think he's graduated. I'm not actually sure.
I I think
And
he's like
I'm
I
like,
think he's repeating a year or not repeating a year,
oh
but like
really?
going like he's in third year or whatever, and
Okay.
he's just not playing
I'm not.
because
I mean,
I can't remember why,
that's
but
surprising people be. I mean, his friends might have graduated. They might not want to play. Just
yeah,
loads of reasons. I mean, if I'm assuming if he's repeating a year, maybe he just wants to buckle it, not keep his head down and pass.
yeah. I mean, you never know. You never
Wasn't
know.
everybody?
Yeah, true,
Yeah,
true.
I've failed some DCU exams in my time. I know what they're like.
Uh, yeah, I don't know anything about DCU. I've only ever been there for Estars. So,
Yeah. Oh, East.
yeah, maybe we'll get into that later. So,
Yeah.
talking about like your organizational stuff and like you couldn't actually play, is that why you made your team like Sentinel back in the day?
Yeah, yeah. Like I mean, like if anybody kind of knows me, I really like to kind of grow the scene in whatever ways I could. And the idea behind Sentinel was just that I couldn't play, and there was the likes of like Cerberus and even Ferocity and stuff like that. And Sentinel was just kind of an answer to those esports teams, where it would make the scene more competitive if you could get long-term players to play together, and bring a bit of cohesion to the high-level play in the Irish scene. And that's where Sentinel started up with some personal friends of mine, Hustling and Cocoa Pops and stuff. And before they stopped kind of playing league competitively themselves, they played one last tournament, and that's where Sentinel started. And then we kind of then as time progressed, we made Sentinels a 2 and a 3 team. Sentinel Rainbow they became to be called, and Sentinel Black or Blue, I can't remember. But which is kind of to enter in the lower divisions of G Series again, to bring more people together to play, and to bring up a bit of cohesion, and just to kind of give people the opportunity to network and find new friends. I mean, that was the main idea behind Sentinel. It was never because obviously with G Series organization on and all that kind of thing, I never had all the time I could have put into it. But it was definitely a great project to start and see the ins and outs of kind of what's needed to run a team and to do practice and all that kind of stuff, and then to um, just make sure everybody was happy and they're having fun playing together.
So, like, when you were doing this, you sort of felt more of like the manager and quote unquote CEO role. I know you weren't really trying to do it as a
Yeah, you
business,
mean
but
that was it. You mean it was kind of just to find players and hopefully they'll practice themselves and take a little bit of the day to day running off me. It was more so just kind of for tournaments, so they'd play a few games a few weeks before the tournaments, 1 or 2 nights a week, and that was it. You're not paying players, so it's whatever they want to do, really. If someone's around,
yeah,
they're around. If they're not, they're not. What can you do?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, when did Sentinel close its doors? When was the last day that last tournament that Sentinel
Oh,
played in?
I think it was a QCon tournament. I think I'm not too sure.
I feel
I
like
mean,
it
for
may have been a
exact
QCon
dates.
tournament.
Yeah, I think it was QCon. I actually don't remember because I remember guys saying, "Do you want to just play it? Do you want us to play QCon under the Sentinel banner?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure," because I think a few of the guys who were on the team didn't end up going because it's obviously up in Belfast. Um, but like I think the kind of the last roster was actually around the first Clash days actually. The first day was the day that Raid did Clash. I put together one last team for was the last time. And that's kind of after that it was kind of just done. Really have and enough time to put into it, and then people weren't staying together for long enough, so it became more of a time sink to kind of find new players to fit the team, and eventually wasn't something I can continue with.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, like teams it requires so much time investment unless you're trying to make it all the way up the circuit into the UK scene and then whatever other
Exactly, you have to have
scenes.
people who are willing to put in that much time.
Yeah, yeah,
They're
exactly.
not easy to find.
Yeah, it's just a lot of effort to do, and I'm glad I'm in content creation. Put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you.
um,
Yeah, and yeah, it was really it. Yeah, good days, good days.
Good times, good times. So we touched on it a little bit there. We talked a little bit about Estars because they. I'm not sure if you can't. What was the story with you just getting involved with Estars in general?
So,
Just
so,
tell the tale.
so Eastars kind of just came out of nowhere, as you're aware. Just kind of a large scale attempt to getting into esports and to getting into League of Legends. I obviously as kind of the biggest esport in Ireland. Um, I reached out to them and kind of was like, because I wasn't going to play. I'm not good enough near to play. And I was like, look, I'd like to be involved because again, I'm very protective of the Irish scene because of how much work I've kind of put into it over the years, trying to build it and keep it sustainable and tournaments and things like that. And no idea anything about these guys. I didn't had any idea if they knew about esports or the ins and outs or how they were going to do things. So I kind of came on board as kind of an advisor, but it was unfortunate that I came on as an advisor way, way too late to actually make any changes. You know, like one of the things was that they wanted players to go to obviously all the different football grounds around the country, so that was part of their deal, and why it was so cool. But they wanted players to get there themselves. They had no transport, no nothing, and they kind of realized like these guys are like 16 to 18 to 19 to 20, like and they're in college and they're working, so they might not get there in time and all this kind of stuff. And they kind of didn't realize, and then eventually they organized transport and all that, as you know. And then as time went on, the events kind of became more Dublin centralized. But yeah, no, East Stars was a learning experience for myself and kind of what not to do. And they've been a great example for um since then in various different ways. You mean like the people who run esports were lovely. But it's just no doubt that they just weren't quite sure what they were doing when they got into it, and it
Yeah,
showed itself.
yeah. It definitely did.
But it was a cool experience for players involved. I think you know what I mean. They got to
Oh yeah,
travel, they got to play in Big Betty, they got free pizza. You know what I mean? It was something.
yeah, yeah. Big Betty pizzas, the good old days. Yeah.
Lucasade,
I'm just thinking which was a
Lucasade.
more of a financial failure. Would it have been game or just a failure in general? Would it be Gamercon or would it be eStars? Because I mean, at least eStars
GamerCon.
was fun to do.
Like Eastars was if Eastars had have just maybe had a bit more knowledge starting up, gone a bit smaller, not the 3 arena, like anything else could have, any kind of big enough venue would have been cool. But it just kind of went a bit too big for what I wanted to do. I feel anyway. And then GamerCon was just a failure on a catastrophic scale, because it showed to the public and to companies and businesses that gaming was huge in Ireland, and the family event around it, what could be done if you had enough scale and enough manpower, and what you could actually get out of kind of the Irish gaming market when you massively kind of promote it and have a big event, and then oversell your tickets, not let half people in, and ruin it for people and families outside, and everything like that, because it was a massive, massive mess up. So I do think GamerCon was, on a organizational scale, was a huge issue. But like, but GamerCon again though, at least when they wanted to run the tournaments, they did get people involved who had knowledge of how to do it and how to make an experience good. Because beyond internet being down and some computer problems, I believe a lot of the esports went pretty well at GamerCon, because of the people involved. It's just the overall event was a bit of a mess, and there was nothing else that could really be done.
Yeah. I mean,
GamerCon was the first event I decided to go to as a regular consumer.
Oh,
so
yeah?
I had nothing to do with it. I had nothing to do with it.
Was Sentinel not playing there?
Yeah, again, under like a kind of a... I mean, we're playing... Do you want us to play in the Sentinel name? And I just...
right.
Okay, why not?
Okay.
Yeah. It was Kieran and Devils and stuff.
Yeah, there's Devils, Voina, Howl.
I
can't remember.
Yeah.
I think Limitless, and I don't remember who the support is. Maybe
Newt. Yes, I think so. But I don't think they did too well, unfortunately.
No, my team knocked them out, actually. Fun fact.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. They gave the CPROM Echo and didn't well for them.
You know what? CPROM has signed up to
he has.
He has, and I'm looking forward to it. I know that name. I actually remember a play he had in the bot lane. He did some crazy shit, 1-3-3, and I was like, wow. Like, I knew at that point he was really, really good. And it's a play that I probably remember for a long time.
Yeah, CPROM's a really good friend of mine.
Respect the name, the CPROM. Yeah, I respect the name, the CPROM in the Irish scene.
Yeah, he's a beast. He only wants to sub because he's sort of like on and off with League at the moment.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll get to bring him in. We'll see. So let's move on to Collegiate. Let's talk about that, the big one. So what was the it got established in 2018? Was that the first year of
2016.
2016. Oh wow.
Yeah,
So
we're going to our 5th year now.
Oh. That's impressive. Tell me how did you establish the scene? How did you I can't speak English.
So
yeah, you know what I'm trying to say.
I know you're trying to ask. I know you're trying to ask. So I mean, like, G Series had the ICL, which is the Irish College League, and it was cool. Obviously, I wasn't in college, so I didn't have much to do with it. I was running community events at G Series, but like the Irish College League was cool. I liked the idea of it, and I mean, I'm big into esports. I'm big into kind of wanting to obviously work in the industry, and in terms of like, I had done plenty of community stuff. I had moderated the Facebook group. I had done loads and loads of stuff community wise, but I didn't really have any kind of knowledge or backup of or knowledge or background in competitive esports. And so like, I couldn't even run a bracket. I didn't even know how. I don't even know how the brackets worked. So I just know, obviously you progress along and that's it. You win the team, you go to the next one, go to the next stage. But so I remember I approached Brian McNamara, who was a good friend of mine. Obviously we worked in kind of around G Series together. He supported it as a play manager from Riot Games. And I said to him, we were having pints, and I was like, I want to do something tournament wise. I'm gonna look at the college level again, because the ICL kind of wound down, and it wasn't really happening. So I said, and he said to me, right, okay, well, first of all, we're having pints. Let's not talk about this now. Come talk to me in the office on Monday. So I did that, and we went in. We had a chat, and we were like, well, what could it look like, and where do you want to go with it? Where's like the ideas you have, like where do they come from? Where do you want to go? And how could you get there? And I was like, well, I gave him the plan. We talked a few things. Was like, well, I mean, you want to do this, you have this idea. but like if Riot could support you, could you do this being like more? And then and what if like we could support you even more? Could you do this even more? And I said, well, this is well beyond the scope of things I had in mind. I wanted to run a tournament. And now you're talking about creating a college ecosystem, essentially what is a model on what the NUL was building, the National Esports League in the UK, which Riot supported out of Dublin as the main office for esports in Europe at the time. And I was like, whoa, sure. And then, like the idea became a little bit more, and I was kind of like, okay, this is more than I think it's going to be. But with Riot support, we got it off the ground, and we it was very, very good. Brian was a great help. The team that Brian was part of was a great help, and that's where kind of the league began. And then we held our first kind of live event, and then we looked at like adding the likes of CS:GO and stuff. Then into our second year, and it's kind of just gone on from then. But that's kind of where the process of starting ICE came from. Just the from idea to actual off the ground and events and tournaments, because like I said, I just wanted to run a tournament, and college space was a space that wasn't being used. It was more or less just an idea, and it kicked off the ground from there.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. So the first tournament that you had, the Irish Collegiate League, that was only league, right?
Yeah, it was only league. Yeah.
So what was it like
So
expanding into other games? Did you have much more experience with other games? You said something about consoles
it
at G
was
Series, but what was that like?
yeah. I mean, expanding into other games meant learning more and more. I mean, I wasn't our second game we ran was CS:GO, and I was not a CS:GO person. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anybody in the CS:GO scene. I knew a lot of them played at G Series, but I didn't know who was in college or if they were old enough or young or they're too young or whatever. But CS:GO was essentially the second biggest esport in Ireland. It had a healthy community. A lot of people still playing, so I tried to put together teams now, but back in the early days of Ice, it was really hard to kind of find the people because it's not like we had the ecosystem we have today where it's established and we have our inroads with the college societies. I started Ice with going, hey, you're in Trinity. Could you put together a team to play in this tournament? And again, hey, you're in DCU. Could you put together this team to play in a tournament? People been like, sure, I think I can, or at least I can find people in DCU who can, and all this kind of stuff. And I went from there, and that's how we kind of started our process of finding colleges and finding teams with just the me knowing people personally. And then as when we turned to CS:GO, this became a bigger issue because I didn't know anyone. And the people around me didn't really know anybody because we were all league heads. Um, so I kind of had to start reaching out to the game societies and being like, "Hey, we're running these events. Would you like to be involved, or could you find players?" And they're like skeptical of us because we just came out of nowhere, and we're charging their students and stuff for entry, and because we want to create a prize pool to make them want to play, and obviously that doesn't come out of thin air. But so we expanded into CS:GO then, and then we realized that the system had to change away from like an individual kind of rep system where I find one person in college and they do the work to building the rapport with the societies, and that's where we've kind of gone now. We're kind of set up in like about 20 different colleges around the country. Their game societies, their computer science societies, their net socks. I mean, anything that kind of represents the gaming and nerdy side essentially is where we want to be, and they're the kind of relationship we built so far. And yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
almost it.
yeah, I suppose that sort of answers my question on how you got set up, like working with the colleges. Was there like any sort of like challenges, so to speak, or maybe like working? Is it just working with the college societies, or did you ever have to go to like upper management of the colleges and stuff like that?
So we have had to go to upper management for some things, sorry. And that's mostly around the visual representations of colleges. So like the likes of NCI Panthers and stuff. I mean, because we want these teams to have logos and have identities, and to help kind of students get behind the idea of their college. Because DCU can be DCU all at once, but like esports kind of they kind of go into the idea of like American football franchising, where they've like where we went with like the likes of DCU Titans, eventually became UCD Leviathans, NCI Panthers. I mean, these entities were created for students. And sometimes we have to go to the college and ask them, is this okay? It's for its students, you know what I mean? It's not um there's not an issue here, and they're mostly we're okay. And they would help us obviously get in touch with the people behind the societies as well. Then, um, and kind of now this year, I mean, like I said, we were 5 years in, with the progression of how we liaise with societies, and we build our rapport and our systems with them. We now have Waterford IT coming along. Now, Waterford IT entered our very first, and we haven't heard a peep out of them since. Some players played on some other teams for other colleges, and that was it. But this year, we were contacted by Waterford IT. They're looking to start a they're looking to start kind of their scholarship program and stuff, and that's kind of where we first got into kind of talking to management really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting that they're like the first college to do an esports scholarship thing in Ireland. I'm not so sure like if they do it in like UK or any other like
Uh,
European colleges. I'm sure they do. I know that they like there is a few in America that do it, but like not
Quite a
too
lot in
many.
America doing it.
Is
No,
there
quite a
is there a
lot doing
lot
it
now?
now. Yeah, I'm assuming there's over 100 colleges that do it in America, I think, at this stage.
Hmm.
Various degrees now, I mean, because scholarships are big things in America because
Yeah,
college fees are astronomical, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Well, maybe not 100 colleges, but there are a lot of colleges that do them.
Any film
I know
colleges?
things. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what film colleges are, but I know Boise State does them. University of California, Irvine, Rutgers. There's quite a few. And also there's colleges you might not have heard of in America do them. Just because I've just kind of obviously explored it and seen what was
Yeah,
going on and just passed some knowledge, you know. But yeah, it's Ireland's first esports scholarship at the moment, anyway,
yeah.
and it's been great to work with them.
Do you know anything like about like the sort of behind the scenes and like what the why they decided to set that up, or like do you just know any sort of context around this?
I mean, well, when you think about it, you mean like in terms of traditional sports versus esports, esports is on the massive growth spurt. It's on a
Hmm.
massive rise, and traditional sports, as the further away you get, now I don't know traditional sports. This is a assumption. A lot of it on my part is as you get away from like the core traditional sports like football and rugby and stuff like that, as you move towards like let's say golf or things like that, like their age groups for their players and the people who view the events are always growing and they're always getting older and they're not being replenished by younger people. So in terms of like the college and why they would want to get into esports is that I mean, they want to just be where the students are, where the players want to be, and how they want to be represented. They have a massive sports program. They have a massive sports facility in Waterford. I don't know if you've ever Googled it. The Waterford IT Sports Center. It's crazy. I was down there. I didn't even know anything like it existed. And the fact that they would offer all this to players who want to get involved in esports, and that includes like physios and doctors and psychologists and stuff, and to build their program as well around esports has been great. And the reason why they want to do that was just they want to be with the students. I mean, obviously, a college wants to be as attractive to progress to progress, you know, to possible students. And why not? You know, and it's in esports in Ireland is growing. As time goes on, it's only going to get more popular. So why not be first? Why not be the ones to lead the charge and to develop their program first? You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could imagine like this would if people are involved in esports and like they saw this place had an esports scholarship, that could sway them to go to this college. You know, like, definitely.
Exactly.
Do you think?
I remember
Oh, go. Sorry.
sorry. I remember well, it was kind of year two, year three of Ice. I remember somebody had told me that they had watched one of the Ice streams and seen that DCU had a really good League of Legends society, and they literally said there was a main bias for them picking DCU as a college was the fact that they had a good League of Legends society. They played a lot of League, and wanted to be part of it. And Ice was a big contributing factor to the choice of their college. And I was like, nah, that's not real. And he's like, no, it is. It's like I'm like, nah. And then you think about it, you're like, oh, I'm actually doing things. That's crazy. Okay. And then you kind of try just get on with it, you know. But yeah, it was one of the things like that. So the fact that Waterford has their scholarship program can obviously make all the difference, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty wild. Do you think other colleges will follow suit?
Um, it's hard to say. So one of the kind of the blockers that we've always had is that esports is not considered a sport in Ireland. To do that, you have to go through Sports Ireland, and in case of colleges, to go through Student Sports Ireland. And I don't even know how to. I didn't even know how to interact with these people, where the doors could open, who to talk to, where to lead a charge from, come up with a plan. Um, so what we're finding now is that with Waterford IT having launched the program and come on board, we now have a kind of a kind of a stepping stone to say, well, Waterford are doing this. Why don't you want to do it? And it's kind of a long term kind of I think for us will be that eventually the progression would be that, not to say we'll stop working with societies and move towards administrative like sports bodies taking over the relationship between ourselves and the college, but I mean, obviously, these sports bodies have the funding and the ability to make things happen, like practice rooms and all these kind of things, labs for players to play in and practicing it better and compete. So we want to kind of try progress these relationships so that players and students get the best experience they can while they're in college.
What do you think about, like, on regard to the secondary school level? Because I think in America there is a couple high schools that do this sort of thing. Do you think that's
There is,
yeah?
there is. I met a man quite a while ago. He did an interview. He we had a chat and we were discussing things, and they call their student gamers scholar gamers. And they're like, you mean they're high school or junior high? I'm not really sure how the American system works, but they he was explaining their system to me and how it works and like how they just progress through kind of like, because obviously America's huge, it's much bigger than Ireland. Like a state is as big as Ireland is, so like they just have interstate things, intercounty kind of tournaments and stuff. But as for secondary schools in Ireland, it's a it's I don't want to say that it's something I would love to, but as to when and how is a different story. I mean, ICE can run college level. We're developed here. But like there's 20 colleges, 23 colleges maybe max in Ireland when you don't take into effect that a lot of colleges are merging together, becoming more centered and stuff. Um, there's secondary schools are in the hundreds, not thousands in Ireland. You know what I mean? So, like, where do you start? You mean you need full time? Then you're talking, you got red tape like adults dealing with kids. You got a vetting. You're talking, going through teachers. Then players play at home on their PlayStation. Do they play in a lab in a computer in the school? Does the school have internet for them to be able to do that? There's loads of questions to be had and loads of thinking to be done. But secondary schools is definitely something I would love to do in the future. Um, but as to if that's possible or when it's entirely up in the air.
Yeah, like the thing is, if you did like individually school by school, I don't think that would work. Like, I mean, so it's hard to find players just even in colleges, when there's a limited number of
Mm.
20 or whatever. So when it goes into the thousands, like that would be like near impossible to do. So I would imagine you'd have to do some sort of like county based thing.
Yeah, I guess you'd start maybe in Dublin and reach out to Dublin schools and see if they can put together teams and what kind of games, and then kind of expand from there. Because like
Yeah,
you're talking just to contact all the secondary schools in Dublin to find that information. You're talking like that's somebody's full job for a week just to get all the contact details,
yeah,
and then to talk to them and then organize and then find teachers who are interested and stuff. It'd be a crazy amount of work, but it's something that maybe happening. You know.
maybe. So, expanding out from outside of Ireland, what's sort of the relationship between like collegiate and UEM? Like, what is sort of the process there, and how does just UEM work in general?
So, the UEM, the UEM stands for University Esports Masters. It is an organization of, roughly about maybe 10 countries. It kind of, some countries' collegiate programs are not as mainstay as ours, not, so some countries are in some years, they're out some others. So it's hard to say exactly who's a part of it every year. Like the main one we first started, it was kind of just ourselves, the UK, Spain, Portugal, Germany, France, and then the French and Belgian league split up, and then there's a Benelux league. Holland are there too. Poland. There was the Nordics, and were run by a team out of Challenger mode. But they no longer do theirs. The guy who was running college in Portugal no longer does it either. So it's very hard to know exactly the lay of the land every year. But what we're trying to do now as a team, and it's mostly led by the guys from Spain and the UK, is to create kind of common ground for the UEM, so that, I don't know if you noticed it this year, but it was League of Legends all the way up until this year, and then they decided to discuss new games. So in the UK and Spain, they run Clash Royale, they run CS:GO and Valorant and all these games. But it was about finding games that work across nearly all of the country. And then obviously you run into licensing and all that kind of stuff. So it's a slow moving thing that, I mean, it's already there. All it has to do is kind of figure out the red tape, cross country borders, cross publishing borders and stuff. And then it becomes a phenomenal thing. I mean, for us, I mean, when you talk about the pathway in which ICE offers players, especially, well, mostly around League of Legends at the moment, but hoping other games in the future. I mean, the guys are like, okay, we're in college. I find some friends who play League. Okay, do you want to sign up? Yeah, we'll sign up, we'll play. And then suddenly they're winning. They're in the knockout stages, and then they're in the finals, and they win. And then suddenly, like, and then I'm talking like, hey, I don't know if you guys know about the University Sports Masters, but what it is that it's a European-wide tournament in which the national winners for all leagues of the countries involved compete against each other in Europe. It's been in Madrid, it's been in Tenerife, it's been in Portugal. I mean, it's a great experience, and they compete against each other for the title of head of Europe. And if you win Europe, then you go to China and represent Europe in China against colleges from around the world. It's hosted by Tencent. So obviously, you're essentially signing up from, at home or in college, and then 6 months later you can be in China. You know what I mean? For us to be able to tell that story in that pathway is crazy, and it's really interesting. Unfortunately, we've never kind of gotten to the stage where we could get there, but following the other countries and the other teams, because to do that it's been really fun, and I think it's a great thing for students to be able to do that, because it's most of the time it's close to ever going to get to come to going pro, and being on stage, being at events and stuff like that. It's a bonding experience as well for the team.
Yeah, I didn't know that thing about China at all. That's wild.
Yeah, when I found it out, it was pretty crazy as well.
I mean, I don't know how likely it would be for Ireland to actually like make it to that stage. Because unfortunately, our player base just isn't big enough. And there's like people in like UK or Spain or whatever that are like master or GM, and like
yeah,
our highest elo player is Kevin Man.
I mean, Kevin Man. I was unfortunate that Kevin Man and the UCD team this year they did progress, but what was unfortunate is that with Riot and so many tournaments on at the LEC and ERLs, there's the regional leagues that we're on that obviously Munster are part of. So the problem was that they had to change the days. So I had gone to the team and said, "Can you play these dates?" And they said, "Yeah, we can." And then because it was a Tuesday, Wednesday or some such, and then they had to change the days to the weekend before the LEC from like 12 till 4. And then the guys are in college, or no, sorry, not in college. They're working or couldn't play, or they're traveling back home or something for the weekend, and it was unfortunate they agreed to play and then couldn't, and Ireland had no representation this year, But if the guys are good enough and they put in the time, there's no reason why they can't compete with the rest of Europe. The other teams like it's just the best team that qualifies. Some teams in Spain they had plats and golds. Others from Poland had a challenger, had diamonds, and then he had a challenger jungle. It's just a matter of kind of who was in your college and kind of like how lucky you get and how much time you practice and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still blown away by that China thing. That's wild.
Yeah, it's literally it's organized by Tencent, who obviously own Riot Games and own a million other countries.
Yeah, they own a few countries. Yeah,
and and like so they organize it, and it comes from them. And I remember the first year I was dealing with that, I was like, wow, okay, because you're like, oh, we need to find out this information, and you're like, we really need it, and it's like, but you're waiting for Tencent, who are like ginormous, so you're kind of just waiting until they're ready. There's no other way around. But I do remember that one of the years, unfortunately, Turkey won because they're part of the UEM, Turkey, and they won. But unfortunately, because our event was so late, they couldn't get the Chinese visas in time, and then the European team, because we're in the EU, had an easier time getting visas. They had to go. So bit of a kick for the Turkish guys, because obviously they competed, they won, they deserved to represent, and couldn't because of the visa issue. So hopefully it won't happen to us in the future if we do get there.
Yeah, hopefully not. Um, so I mean, you may not have an answer for this one. Do you know what's going to go on with UEM this year? Do you think it's just going to be all online? Obviously, it's like totally speculative.
Yeah, I mean, I think
situation,
everybody's all online at the moment. And the UEM in particular is getting they're really trying to cement kind of a common footing, a common ground for all the countries to choose games. Like, I mean, we run CS:GO, but other countries don't. But now Valorant has come out, and Riot are very big supporters of the UEM and what it represents for students and for players. So Valorant might become the mainstay FPS for the UEM. So these questions have to be kind of given to all the countries involved, and kind of and then some kind of body needs to be set up for funding, because the UEM, it's all online, obviously, at the roof would be because of COVID, but really, um really the ideal scenario is for it to take place in Europe and the guys travel. I mean, ICE, obviously, as you're aware, is a small company. We've sent one team, but really it was mostly covered by Riot at the time, and then other UEM countries, Spain, because they're a behemoth in terms of their scale, and what they can achieve. They covered the guys the other one of the years as well. So it's one of these things where, um, if we do come onto new games and bring in more players, which obviously means more traveling and more funding costs, it's not something that we could realistically look after ourselves. You know what I mean? So we would need this kind of cross Europe support, cross UEM support, to be able to kind of participate and keep going. And that's what they're looking to build right now. That's the major kind of consideration this year, is how we support Europe as a whole, and that's an ideal that I'm really behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, will we talk about collegiate this year? So, do you want to just tell me about all the changes that are going on this year with collegiate?
Yeah, so obviously, as I said, we're going into our fifth year. COVID has brought around a few changes that were not necessarily on the cards this time last year or even thought about, but have come in this year because we feel like it makes the most sense. So obviously, we moved into some of the biggest changes we've had is that we no longer have an import system, and all players have to be from the same college, and we no longer are allow players to use our previous system, which was essentially, we just said, you have to play this game. You get your game on a Sunday. You have to play it before the next Sunday. Just let us know when your game is, and we'll try broadcast it. We'll try cover the stream and get the casters and all that stuff available. And that's no longer a thing. We now move to a set day system. And then the other thing is that we're aware that, like, students at the best of times have no. Yeah, I mean, because obviously part-time jobs, they're in college. They move to Dublin like yourself, and they rent isn't cheap, food isn't cheap, and things have probably only gotten worse with COVID. So we've made everything free of charge, um, this year, to kind of combat that and try to kind of allow more students to take part. 'Cause we don't want the students to kind of have to not take part in our events because they can't afford an entry fee, which is still small enough, but it's what allows us to create the prize pools. But this year we kind of said, look, we'll go out on a limb and we can allow students to enter free. As I said, then with no longer the import system, it's been a bit rough for some teams finding players, because some colleges, I mean, they've had teams together for the last 2 years, and they didn't really expect to change. They're using an outside player. Unfortunately, it's not the way it can be done anymore. And we've seen a lot of back and forth, a lot of discussion on our Discord for this. And we think the discussion was healthy. We answered a lot of questions, and we explained the reasoning why pretty great. And the same with the moving to a set day system. I mean, it was a bit kind of controversial, but we ultimately believe that it's the best way forward for colleges. especially now like that. Um, Especially now that kind of COVID will, like I said, have a lot of people home a lot more, not really going out as much. Sports aren't particularly on if you're sports and trying to maintain like esports and the sports kind of training sessions and stuff and game nights. And we kind of just wanted students to be able to know that okay, I'm a league player. If I want to play in ice this year, I don't want to have to worry about okay, my team's playing Monday this week. Then this guy's not free Monday next week. So what do? I need to wait until my team know my team is free, so I know when I'm playing. And it could be very short notice. So we said, right, the set day system. You're a league player, you're playing on Thursdays. You're a Valorant player, you're playing on Mondays. Just so that you know when you sign up, this is the commitment you're making to your team and to yourself and to us, to take part in our events and hopefully kind of represent your college and bring home the big win. Like, and as I said, it's been back and forward, but ultimately we believe that all of the changes we've made this year are only going to benefit students for the long term and give them kind of a better idea of what to expect when they want to sign up and what.
Yeah, I much prefer the set day system. I mean, like, I just hate having to organize things so much where I'm like, yeah, can you guys do this day while I'm checking with my team if everyone can do that day? And there's always one guy who just won't respond in time, and it's just the most frustrating thing in the world.
Yeah.
So, like, all the captains of the teams are praising you for this one. I'm telling you that much.
And that's what I'm hoping for you. I mean, like I said, there's been a lot of discussion around it, and it's been a lot of back and forward, and we really have to kind of explain why it's good and why we've seen the benefits for it, and why we believe it's beneficial for the students as well. And hopefully, kind of as the season starts, we can players will see the benefits. They just know that they're playing at this day. They can choose the time themselves, and we'll do our best to get it broadcast.
Do you think you're going to be like continuing these sort of changes moving forward, or is this sort of a play it by ear thing?
I think that these are permanent changes. I mean, with the likes of Waterford IT coming in at administrative level, I mean the import system kind of had to go because you're coming in, you're supporting an esports ecosystem, and you're entering your team, and suddenly you're losing to UCD with an outside player. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you're not really losing to UCD, using to UCD plus a Galway player. It's not really fair. So because obviously, if you're coming in at an administrative level, you're only going to have to field your own players, your own team. And I feel like that's where we want to go as we progress with ICE and our leagues. So it's a good time to add all these things in at one time and kind of just say, right, big changes. We understand, but these have to happen. Let's go. Let's take the bull by the horns and get them done. So I believe that these changes are permanent. You know, so
Yeah, I'm glad to hear. If I never have to organize a game again, I'll die a happy man. But
well, you still have to organize time, but
yeah,
days
I
are set
mean,
for you. So
that'll be like, yeah, will we do 7? Yeah, we'll do 7. That'll do.
yeah,
Job done.
you only have so to tell about the time for a best of two. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's easy to predict.
So in regard to like the community aspect of it, you have a lot of like community involvement, say with like I'm not sure if it's social media managers, but like just that sort of you've opened it up to the community to join. What is that sort of process like working with just people from the colleges and stuff?
So this year we took a step back kind of at the end of last year and said, right, to go kind of extremely long term with this, and we have to get people into roles that are in it for the long term as well. I mean, we can't just keep hopping person to person, volunteer work and stuff like that. The easiest way I like to explain it is that we're too big for volunteers, but too small to pay people a wage. You know, it's that's kind of just what the crux of ICE. That's how I like to describe it. But recently we've kind of started the kind of describe. We came together internally and said, what do we need to progress forward and to do more for students? And we've had a few roles up over the summer, the likes of casting and stuff. And now recently we've had social media managers come up. And when that was originally planned to be a single position, we interviewed quite a few people for that role, and we ended up choosing 2 people together because we felt that their skills the skills themselves individually were great, but they were missing key aspects to do the whole role. So 2 people could do it, and they could do it together great. So we brought on 2 people when it was really supposed to be 1, and kind of offered them an internship around social media managing, and the idea that they will learn from us and they can have experience put on the CV for when they're out in the jobs world and stuff like that. And then community wise, we have a role up at the moment on the ICE website, for a community manager, based around kind of trying to give students more than just a competitive. We want to run game nights on the weekends or during the week, and we have a few other plans around that. Unfortunately, I can't talk about on stream, but it will let us kind of give students more and let us do games that we're always asked about, but can't do. The likes of, like, I don't know, pugging a group for like Fortnite and Apex Legends and stuff like that. Stuff where we would love to do it, but we just don't have the bandwidth to do it competitively for whatever reason. Cost, people, player count, all these kind of reasons that we would have to take into consideration when choosing new games and new pathways for students, and try to do them at a community level where people can come along and say, "Oh, I play Apex. Oh, there's groups going. I would like to find some new players. I want to have some fun." And they can drop in and drop out and play for 2 hours a week on a weekend or so. And we're really trying to build that this year, and we're trying to find the right person for the role. And it's kind of like, because for me, like, I really like building communities, and I really like to make sure everybody's kind of looked after and has fun. And I really hope that we can focus on that. I go for a good chunk of ice this year, because we have our everybody knows what to expect when it comes to tournaments. You're playing once a week, you're progressing through a bracket, you get knocked out, whatever. We want to offer more to players who maybe got knocked out early, or maybe just want to find new players. And maybe their college team, okay, yeah, they're a college team, but they maybe only play for the ice games during the week. They don't play otherwise, they don't practice. But they want to find new players, and they want to just interact with more players and build their hobbies with people who have similar interests. So the community aspect is a big thing for myself this year, and I really hope it to grow.
Cool. So another thing I wanted to know about is, obviously you've had to cut down the amount of games to do this year because of obviously you're offering it for free, so you don't have infinite prize pool. What
Sure.
did you just choose, like, what's the biggest games? And when are you adding
No,
Legends of
well,
Runeterra so I can smoke some people, please?
oh man, I'm like, a month ago when Targon came out, I was hardcore to the Legends of Runeterra, man. I loved it, and I'm still playing it every day. I'm only a low gold, don't I'm not that great, but having a lot of fun with it. But the fact that Legends of Runeterra is a Riot title is a very good thing for its chances with us, because Riot are obviously supportive of what we do, and of the Riot IP across Europe. And so we added Valorant this year, to see the kind of reaction and things like that. But unfortunately, you're right. We had to cut Overwatch this year. There was a few different reasons for it. I don't want to be to blame any particular thing, because a combination of things between player base and interest, and also the fact that it's 6 players, not 5. And then with the loss of the import rule, we found that only 2 teams last year had full college teams from their own college. So where does that leave us? So a few different reasons why we had to kind of cut Overwatch, and unfortunately, we had to do the same to Smash, because I know fighting games are played in person. Because of the amount of the MS and stuff of online play, you can't do counter blocks, you can't do your up moves and your down moves and stuff, to counter different things. So they have to be played in person. And unfortunately, we're just not prepared to run physical events this year, and we've no plans to run any physical events for the remainder of 2020, and probably I can safely say all of 2021. So Smash, unfortunately, as much as I love the community, because Smash community for Ice is huge. It's very supportive. They turn out, they play the games, they have fun, um, and it's been great to interact with students, because again, they're in person, so I have to meet the community and talk to them, and kind of really get across what Ice wants to be, and that you don't really get online. Because like, the Smash community is also great, because they're all in person, they all travel, they all know each other, so they're a great bunch of lads, because they're all already friends. You know what I mean? So it's great to just kind of be part of that. And unfortunately, with COVID, we had to drop Smash this year, and hopefully we're going to pick it back up in the future. But kind of it's a wait and see thing, because nobody really knows the pandemic is gonna work out. Like,
Yeah. Never is the way I think about it. This is
yeah,
just the way it is now,
yeah. This
unfortunately.
is probably going to be the way it is for quite a while. So
Yeah,
it's
what
just
can
the
you
way it
do?
goes.
Anyway, so I only have 2 more years left, so add Runeterra next year, please.
I'll try. We'll put it this way. Like I said, with the community stuff like that, we might see if we can get some community nights going, and see if like one of them might be Legends of Runeterra night where people can kind of theory craft together and play against each other and have a bit of meme decks and stuff like that, just for some fun, you know.
Just actually on the Runeterra point, just because I'm a big
Okay,
player
okay.
of it, I just want
It's
to talk
fine.
about.
It's fine. Let's go. Let's talk.
This,
Let's talk.
this is the first time I've had someone on that's actually plays Legends of Runeterra. What like the game is actually quite small, which is surprising. I love it. I think it's way better than Hearthstone. I mean,
Yeah.
mostly because I don't have to spend like 50
Yes,
trillion
exactly.
euro every time a
It's
new
not.
set comes out.
It's not pay to win. It's really easy to get into. Like, as in the rate in which you get new cards in Legends of Runeterra is a big draw for me. Like, as in I was, like I said, I've been doing stuff around League for a long time. So I was actually invited to the League 10 event in London, in which Legends of Runeterra was kind of unveiled. And it was a fantastic experience getting to play and seeing these cards and the animations and not knowing what was going on, because I'm like, why can't I play this card now? Because I didn't realize the mana system, and you've actually got mana for spells that you can bank and stuff. It was crazy to me because I only played Hearthstone very rarely, and I mean I liked the arena mode mostly. You know what I mean? And Legends of Runeterra is how it was just it's an easy thing to get into, and like that. So I love it.
Yeah. Do you know if there's like a decent sized community for this? Because like I saw on the Facebook page, like there's only like 50 people. I think the last post there is still
Yeah.
me hitting master. So
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, it's hard to grow a community when it's not your main. That's something I'll say to anyone. But I don't know if there's a big community in Ireland, but it's like I had some friends. I had five or six friends get into it only recently because of the Tarragon expansion, and I mean, there's a lot of easy way to get cards, and it's very easy. It's not pay to win. It's not even pay to play. You mean so it's a great thing to be able to say, oh, you get into this, run some Timo decks, run some Sejuani decks, and be able to bring like the league from the league IP to a card game. And what I really like about Legends of Runeterra is that League, when it came out, had its own lore, but it doesn't really have lore anymore. The only lore updates you get from League are the new champion, and that's fair enough. So a lot of what Riot's doing is they're building out the Runeterra lore through Legends of Runeterra. The likes of Cithria, the card where she was used in some of the teasers and the promotional videos for the new expansions for the release of the game, where she's a lonely, like a person coming to a big city in Demacia, and then she joins the army and she's a squire, and then suddenly there's a 6/6 card, I think it is, where she's Cithria the Bold. You know what I mean? It's stuff like that, and that's why I like Legends of Runeterra, where you can kind of progress the lore, bring out new things. Like Yone was a card in Legends of Runeterra before he was a champion, and there's some crossover there with the skills that are used and stuff. It's just it's just great. Like I just love it and the ideas behind it and what they can do with it, because they're not tied to the League of Legends IP. It's a Runeterra Riot Games IP, and they can do so much more. It's really easy to get into. A lot of crossover and a lot of.
yeah, I really want them to add Silas to Runeterra because Silas is my favorite champ lore wise. I just think he's so fucking cool. Like with
I
stealing
ban him
people's
every
magic.
game.
Yeah.
I ban him every game. I had some bad clash experience with Silas where nobody played Silas in the enemy team. We banned their champions, and suddenly Silas was in 2 games in a row. And we went out straight away. It's fucking horrible. Sorry, I didn't mean to curse.
You can
But
swear on the show. It's fine.
okay, I didn't realize. But yeah, like as in, I don't know if you caught it in the subreddit, but somebody like people make their own kind of systems for new champions that come out, and there was a Cho'Gath one, where they had like consume, where they basically ate their own minion to get bigger and stronger. And man, I'd love that. Just the idea of that kind of mechanic in the game, because I absolutely hate Deep. Deep is a horrible. And I hate anybody who plays it. So you know, I just want I really want Legends of Runeterra. I would love to see it at Ice, but again, one of our biggest criteria for choosing games is the size of a community that we can see without looking for it. And Legends of Runeterra, this has never had that, but like many card games are single person. You don't talk about them, so how do you? You know what I mean? Because again, like you said, your last post was you hitting master, but like what? I mean, subreddits, discords. That's where all the talk is now. You don't see it in the likes of Facebook anymore. So how do you know? So I
Yeah.
mean, Legends of Runeterra could be considered sometime for a once-off event. Who knows? And see the signups like we tried with TFT and FIFA. That didn't work. So you never know. You'll see in the future.
Yeah, I would have signed up for the TFT thing if it was set 2. I hated set 3, man. I really hated set
Yeah,
3.
I mean, like, are you liking Fates though?
I've played it a couple of games. Yeah, it's all right. I don't
Oh
like.
wait, we're in set 3. Sorry, I
No,
think
no, we're
we're
in
in
set
set
4
4.
now. We're in set 4.
Oh, we're in set 4.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, we are. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. So first set, and then it was uh the elements, and then it was space. And yeah,
yeah,
now it's space. Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the current set.
yeah. Are you playing a lot? Is TFT your main thing now, or?
It is actually since the new set came out. I've barely played any Legends of Runeterra. I'm really enjoying the set. Like, and I really want to play it an awful lot before the balance changes came out. Because I thought there was a lot of. I thought the game was fairly balanced already. But now it's, you know, taking a bit of getting used to now. But I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it, and it's nice to be able to throw it on for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and then go back to doing whatever you're doing, which for me and how I do my work ethic is pretty great.
Yeah,
do a bit of work, play a bit of games, do a bit of work, play a bit of games. Or
same for
again,
me, man.
if I'm writing out stuff, it's just oh yep, take my go, do my round in Legends of Runeterra or in TFT, and just tab back out and start writing again, and then come back
Yeah.
into it. It works.
Yeah, I'll be editing footage or watching over footage. I'm like, I'll just play Runeterra now. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
And come
exactly.
back to it in
Like, I mean,
5
come back
minutes.
to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, it helps. It helps keep you from from helps keep you from just getting into a rut and wanting to not do anything. So
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, let's move on. What do you think the future of collegiate will be? How do you think you're gonna progress the sort of just in general?
like I mean, we are in nearly every college in the country. The likes of like the ones we're not in, like IT Tralee, that's merging with college with Cork Institute of Technology to become Munster Technological University, like TUD did with Blanchardstown and Tulla. And where so all these kind of smaller colleges are merging with bigger colleges, or well, bigger to become bigger again. So we realistically are in nearly every college in the country at this stage, including the ones in Northern Ireland like QUB and Ulster University, um, where I mean, so that's kind of we're established and where we have our footing, and like I said, we're trying to progress to kind of like a relationship with the college kind of support side to kind of maybe help the societies get bigger, get more funding and places to practice and play games and things like that. And because most of them use college, excuse me, college labs, or the games don't work because of whatever spyware system they have or whatever I can't remember what it's called. IP blockers and all that. I can't remember what it's called. Like
Eduroam, yeah.
Eduron. Yeah, I mean whatever that thing is. The name is just not coming to me. But yeah, where they can't play games because of ports and stuff like that, they're blocked. So I mean, in the future for Ice, I mean that's where we want to go. We want to like run more games and have kind of a bigger prizing. Maybe get some brands on board to offer like keyboards and mice and all these kind of things that students would like because they can't afford a new mouse and they want a new keyboard and things like that. We want to be able to work with with companies like that, um, and kind of give more to students. And then, like I said earlier, I would love to kind of go into secondary schools and things like that. But that's a whole other conversation and way of doing things. But I like to believe that ICE is here to stay and it's going to be around for a long time. Um, just gotta hope that is actually how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So maybe like a more general question, what do you think sort of the future of just the Irish community in general? Maybe more specifically for League of Legends, since, obviously Collegiate is in CSGO and etc. So, but what do you think of just in general the Irish League community and where that's going to go?
I mean, there's still people in the Irish League community who want to put on tournaments and stuff like that, and it's great to see the likes of Kerry with rivalry and stuff. Um, and the captains drafts that are around for a while and stuff like that. Like it's good to see all these events still happening and the Quantex captains draft and stuff. Um, it's what do you call it? Like it's there and it's progressing. I don't know if it's past its prime or if it's in its prime now. I mean, because obviously I play with my friends. I don't really play with everybody anymore. Not that I even have time to be playing games most of the time, but it's like it's. I think the league community, especially because league has such a a high skill ceiling and such a high learning curve. Like I often ask myself, I mean, if I sat down to play League these days, would I get into it? You know what I mean? I honestly don't know the answer because, I mean, if I didn't play it, I mean, already, but if I was coming into it new, so you get into it as a new player, I don't know if I could, but I think that, I mean, with a lot of kind of, geez, I guess now that the example to use, I suppose, is Fortnite. So with Fortnite being a household name and every kid playing it who's in the ages of like 4 till 11 or 12 or 13 or 16, I mean, Fortnite is eventually going to get boring and they're going to look for new games and they might join other, but like they're already going to know what esports is, they're going to know what competitive gaming is, what's available, and then hopefully they'll find us and find the games that we run. And I mean, we get a lot of asks for Call of Duty on console, and we're just like, look, we don't do it for XYZ reasons, but we run CS:GO, we run Rainbow Six. The games are like them. They're shooters. You might find some there.
Wait,
And
do you actually get
sometimes
a
it
lot
is
of
some
requests
version.
for Call of Duty on
Call of
console?
Duty?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I remember
It's
playing
like because
Call of Duty
it's
boy back in the
I,
day. You know.
so what a lot of people don't realize is that Ireland is one of the most console dense countries in the world. Because they're just set up and play. They just pick up and play. I mean, consoles, like for people around my age or older, consoles are all there were for a lot of the time. So like, you know, you have your dads and stuff like that who are just like, oh yeah, go buy a new Xbox, plug it in, stick the wires in, play the games, and that's it. That's all you need to know. You mean it's not like a PC where you mouse, keyboard, RAM, graphics card. You know what I mean? It's all just pre-old. That's the advantage of console. But unfortunately for us, as like as a tournament organizer, like how do you run Call of Duty? So you want to run a tournament, okay? So you need like you want to run like a let's say a 64 player tournament, 64 team tournament. I mean, that's 5 consoles per team, 4 consoles per team, depending on the year of Call of Duty that's available. And there's the other issue again. They release a new game every year. The competitive circuit changes every year. I mean, you can't go around asking players, "Hey, can you bring a console and your copy of the game to our tournament in which you're paying to play in?" You know, you can't do that. It's not something you can ever ask of competitors. So ICE would have to go and buy €60 copies of the game every year, and they need to buy 30, 40, 50 copies of it. I mean, that adds up very quickly. So it's not something we can ever really do. I mean, like I said, we might look at community game nights and stuff like that, small mini tournaments, where people can play from home. But again, it's not been discussed, and it's very hard to kind of know if it'll ever happen. But yeah, Call of Duty is something we get asked for quite a lot, just because it's such a casual game. Everybody and their nan thinks they're great at it. You know what I mean? So it's not which is not always the case, you know. But everybody seems to think that, so we always get asked about it.
I suppose another thing about like consoles being so big in Ireland is that like outside of Dublin, the internet is really rough. Like I
Yeah,
remember I had
you
like two
literally got
megabyte download in
yeah, you go
my county.
meet her outside the city centre in Ireland, and you're just gone. So it's just the way it is. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know what can you do? I'm living in
Yeah, I
Dublin
mean,
with hopefully good internet at some point.
yeah. That's I mean, look, as in, all we can do is hope that the internet gets better because for me, obviously myself, it opens up more avenues to players and the future and stuff. So I'm obviously behind the broadband plan to get people more internet and more games and more events. You know what I mean? But it's just a matter of waiting and seeing. You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, I think we might wrap it up here. Is there anything you want to touch on before we finish off?
I guess I'll just give Ice a little plug. I mean, our website is collegeesports.ie. We're on Twitter at Irish Collegiate. Our tournaments are coming up to sign-ups now, or well, we're in sign-up period, but they end on the 9th at 11 p.m. We're running League of Legends, CS:GO, Rocket League, Valorant, and Rainbow Six. So if you want to get involved, you know, sign up, come play. Our Discord is literally just collegeesports.e/Discord. Join, find players, even if you're not in college. I mean, we're still happy to have you in the community. We, like I said, our community events, they're not just going to be for students. So come play, find new players, find friends. You know, just be part of it, and you know, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Sign up, sign up, sign up. Not to the TUD team though. That's already sorted for me. And
Well, you can have more than one. You can
yeah,
have more than one.
I think there is going to be more than one. I think there's going to
Well,
be
I
two
mean,
TUD
TUD had
teams.
like TUD had like 4 league teams last year,
Yeah,
and like they had 6 in total, I think. They had 6 in total between Div 1 and Div 2. So, but now it's all Div 1. So maybe the
yeah,
lower ranked players won't want to play. But again, fortunate. But we just want everybody to have fun play.
yeah. Yeah, true, and hopefully I'll get the win since UCD retired. But
Yeah, well, I don't even know if they're playing or not. Maybe some people. Maybe
they're not.
because,
I know Kevaman, Munch, and Costa and Cramp are not playing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
So
spicy. Fair.
yeah, there's a good
like
chance.
I
we
haven't
can.
touched them. I haven't touched base with any of them yet. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I know some people have stopped playing completely. No, I'm not even sure. I know
Munch
like
stopped
Nash
playing
stopped
League
playing and
totally.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I only see Munch now to play Among Us.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but that's the only time I see much these days. But yeah, like as in, there's plenty of people who, like I said, they just move on to different games. They don't want to play competitively. They're in college in their last year, final year. They want to take it serious.
Yeah.
There's a number of other reasons, but like I can always hope there'll just be more players to take the spot.
Yeah, true. All right, thank you for coming on, Aidan. If you want to follow Monster Gaming on Twitter, you can do that. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do that. But I think that's everything. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.